Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Business and it's time to cover some Fight Night action. This will be the first match that I've been a part of as far as being a commentator, and it's the Salty Seamen versus NADO, the North Atlantic Detonation Organization. And just to go over the lineup here, we have ACAC 47 and JCF 150 in the curve first. We have Backwards Logic and Porsche Racer in the Des Moines. There's Never Forgotten in the Hindenburg, and then Quicksilver Slash and Frog in the Gearings. And on the other side for NADO, we have His Beloved Mother in the Yamato, same with Armor Defrost. There's Candy Akagi and Minami Katori in the Des Moines. Blue Steel Otago is bringing the Minotaur. And then there's Sakuya, which I can't say the first part of the name, so whatever. And Xiang 0428 in the Gearing as well. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this because most of the questions will be answered in the links that I provide in the description below. Please check that out. That's where the sign-up sheet is and the rules, stipulations, and all that. This is very straightforward. Tier 10, 7v7. You can bring lower tier ships, but obviously it's not recommended. And you can only have one CV on a given team. It takes place on 4 epicenter maps: Trident, and let's see, there's Strait, Tears of the Desert, and Big Race. Ocean is reserved as a tiebreaker, and it's a best of 3. That's it. Well, of course, there's more to it than that, but for the sake of brevity, I'll go ahead and just jump to the gameplay here. Now, I am rather surprised at the initial movements of both teams here. There's, of course, torpedoes going left and right. Salty Seaman is doing a really good job of letting the destroyers move up the side of the map and get into a flanking position, while the curvers here are attracting the attention and the, effectively, the cruisers are in reserve, hugging that mountain and using their radar from time to time, which leads to some interesting situations, as you'll see in a second. But His Beloved Mother takes 4 torps on the side there, and as you can see, Sakuya in the far left there, he's getting shot at by anybody that has guns available to shoot at him, and got shells coming in from all over, and they're trying to knock him out. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So score 1 for Salty Seaman. They are up 7-6, and NADO is down 1 very, very valuable gearing. They have 1 less ship that can produce smoke and 1 less ship that can throw torps out. And of course, as you'll see in later matches, this is just covering, by the way, NADO versus Seaman. I will be trying to do the next one, which is Salty Seaman versus the War Beastie Boys. I'll be trying to cover that tomorrow. But we have a pretty deadlock situation here, Mexican standoff style. A lot of these ships on NADO have taken a considerable amount of damage, while the curvers for Salty Seaman are just still sitting there and just kind of taking the attention away and really keeping things locked in, especially again with those cruisers in reserve. But ACAC is in a pretty tough situation here, as he's going to take a lot of torps, and he may have a whole hell of a lot of health, but not anymore, going from 80,000 down to about 14. Now, there are quite a few things that are going to happen here that really cause the tipping point to be reached, and then we have a snowball effect of all hell breaks loose, basically. So Minami Katori had taken out a gearing, and Armor Defrost had taken out the other gearing, which is Frog and Quicksilver. So ACAC is on very, very low health here, and Blue Steel Otago is chipping away at him with that Minotaur and just finding little bits of the ship to hit, and there we go. So finally succumbed to that. Now, both teams are really in a position where they both have to do something. So NADO has the numbers advantage, but I would actually argue that Salty has the position advantage, and you'll see why in just a second here, as Xiang is trying to rain some hell on JCF and get some fire started, but unfortunately for him, that's exposing him to multiple tier 10 cruisers, and that's just not a good place for any destroyer to be. Now, Armor Defrost gets revealed here, as Never Forgotten is going to lead the charge against him. Backwards Logic is going to be backing him up, and as we all know, German battleships and cruisers tend to have some trolley armor. Yep, that's no different. So the Hindenburg can take a hit, and that's for damn sure, especially at this range. So he's going to be able to get in closer and get those torps off, as JCF lands a big hit on Blue Steel Otago's Minotaur. Now Porsche Racer is backing up a little bit here, and it looks like he's gonna just try to take some heat off and maybe surprise these guys with a Citadel or two, as 3 torps land against Armored Defrost and take him down from 60,000 down to 38. Now the radar is active, and that means that, unfortunately for Manami Katori, he gets taken out by backwards logic, but Porsche Racer actually set a fire on Xiang's gearing and ended up killing him and just shooting and finishing off Blue Steel Otago's Minotaur. So we actually got a double strike. Now, I don't care if you're a tier 10 battleship, being this close to tier 10 cruisers is a terrible situation to be in, especially when they start pumping AP into you. But so far, Armored Defrost has been avoiding huge hits up until that point, and they've been bouncing a number of shells against his side, but there's only so much you can take. Backwards logic finishes off Armored Defrost with fire, and torps come in now against, let's see, we've got Porsche Racer, who's kind of looks like he's stuck here a little bit, but he manages to dodge the torps from Xiang's gearing, as the rest of NADO is starting to push in against JCF and Porsche Racer. And neither of those guys want to turn out here, because obviously Des Moines and the Yamato, they can definitely inflict some punishment. Candy Akagi did take one of Xiang's torps, though, that missed Porsche Racer. What didn't miss him was that. If those other shells got off and didn't hit that little rock in front of him, that possibly would have been a kill, but I don't think it really would have mattered too much here, as Never Forgotten is getting into position to launch his torps, which is right now. JCF has gone full broadside here to try to inflict some punishment and get rid of his beloved mother's Yamato, but he just cannot seem to penetrate that bow armor there, especially at that angle, as Porsche Racer goes down to Candy Akagi. But there we go. We've got a death of the Yamato by Never Forgotten's hands with the torpedoes, and a big hit here against Candy Akagi from JCF, as the shells are coming in here in just a second to finish off Candy Akagi and give Salty Seaman the victory. Now that could have gone either way very, very quickly, of course, and that's what's really exciting about this. Until those last few shots were sent out, I mean, that could have been anybody's match there. You just never know what's going to happen. Now, we have Blue Steel Otago changing things up here, and I'm on the other side covering NADO. Dort is covering Salty. Now, both of the gearings for Salty are on the top right part of the map here, and what they did not expect after I talked to him post-match was Blue Steel Otago being there in the Minotaur, and that certainly changes that engagement quite a bit, as they can't press in against them if they wanted to and push up along the side here and possibly start sending torps at the flank of his beloved mother and Armored Defrost. Now, a very interesting early development here is that we have Manami Katori in the Des Moines and also Candy Akagi in the Des Moines on the left side here. Never Forgotten has come out a bit and is engaging both of these guys while in his Hindenburg, and there's also backwards logic here. And look at that hit, just wow. Manami Katori got cut in half there by a huge salvo by Never Forgotten, and got some more damage coming in here. Not nearly as much as the first salvo, but still a huge amount of damage regardless. And I'm not entirely sure if he was intending to have something else happen there, but regardless, he got nailed and taken out, so that's an early victory for Salty. And Never Forgotten is in a bad position right now. He's got to turn back in, and at any moment I'm expecting the Yamatos here for NADO to just completely wreck Never Forgotten and remove him from the match too. And backwards logic has taken a significant amount of damage as well, so neither of these guys can afford to be exposed for very long here, and they're trying to take out Candy Akagi as well. So we have a few other ships that are pretty well damaged here, and there goes Akagi right there as he gets taken out as well. And now just moving ahead a little bit as a few minutes pass, nothing really happens. People just kind of get into their positions, but we have gearing torps coming in against the Yamatos that are hidden in the smoke, and they each take one, but that's definitely not something that they wanted to do, of course. Every little bit of health matters a great deal, and especially when you have these racks of torps that are coming in every less than, well, right around 2 minutes. and potentially flushing people out of smoke. So we have Xiang coming in and extending this smoke ring further back, so they have a little bit more latitude in terms of being able to position themselves forward or backwards. It's a really good plan to do that, and not to just have your smoke rings centered around one little area. You want it spread out so you have a little bit more option to continue to move and stay concealed. And again, here comes another set of torps, as luckily for Armored to Frost, he's able to just sit there and let those go on either side of him. Now, Blue Steel Otago is in an interesting spot here because he has the best damn heal in the game. He can take a good amount of damage, but he can also heal it back, or at least quite a bit of it back. Now he's going to go down to about 23,000 health and start repairing, and you'll see how quickly that regenerates. But that's still, right now, being exposed is not a good situation for him. He's got to get back in that smoke and try to make something happen. But see those torps coming? That's from Blue Steel Otago, and you could tell because a few of them are single file, and Ak is not seeing them just yet, or maybe he is, and he's only just starting to back up here in just a second. But if I'm assuming he has Hydro active. I'm always trying to assume that because everybody seems to dodge my torps when they're in a German battleship, but it looks like those single file torps are going to find their mark. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to see the results of that here right now. And take a look at that. He used to have a lot of health, let's just put it that way. But conversely, while Xiang almost is dead here, he just took another big hit, and he's down to less than 100 health. Unfortunately for Armored to Frost, who I'm assuming he was trying to move up and get into position to be able to use his guns, he takes 4 torps there, and it looks like that actually saved Blue Steel Otago, and it saved his beloved mother from taking any damage. So not sure if maybe that was a sacrifice play, but regardless, they lost to Yamato, and now they're down to a very, very low health Minotaur, very practically dead gearing, and well, there goes the Minotaur now, and they're stuck in a pretty rough position here. So at this point, it was just a matter of when Salty was going to push up. But that's not to say that NADO doesn't have any fangs remaining, because they still have torps and they still have guns, and it's not over until it's over, of course. I'm sure at some point we're going to see it come down to the final salvo in one of these matches, but looks like 3 of those torps found their mark against somebody, and we have Xiang is exposed, unfortunately, and he's got to just try to do what damage he can, because it's only a matter of time before he gets taken out like that. Now, it's just down to Sakuya and also his beloved mother to try to make a little bit more happen here and see if they can, I don't want to say save face. It's just about, seeing who else you can take out with you. To me, this is all bragging rights, but to me, it's just fun to watch regardless who's playing. So we have both of the destroyers that are for Salty pulling in on the flanks here, and that's an important factor because, of course, those torpedoes coming in from the sides, that makes any team's position really difficult to hold, because those torps come in from either side. You're going to have to start moving forward into the jaws of the enemy team that's waiting for you ahead of you, and there's just nothing else you could do. But Sakuya goes down, and it's just down to his beloved mother, see if he can get another ship taken out here. Looks like Ak is trying to turn his turrets and not his ship. He's just trying to steam by him real fast here, and I was expecting the cinematic, broadside salvo there at close range, but didn't get his turrets around in time. But here comes the shot, and Ak secures the victory for Salty Seaman. Alright, so from me personally, I had a hell of a lot of fun doing this tonight. There is a second set of matches with a different team, War Beastie Boys versus Salty, and that is going to be coming up as soon as I can get the footage together. But Salty comes away with 4 Fight Night coins, and NATO comes away with 1, and that's a way to determine the team's position, to determine their payout in doubloons, and we're hoping to get backed by Wargaming so we can increase that incentivization. So highly recommend just joining up, checking out the rule set, and signing up for this and getting a team together and start practicing, because this is a hell of a lot of fun and I can't wait to be involved with more. But thank you for watching today, guys. I look forward to bringing you some more content, and I'll see you back here soon. Take care.